Okay, we are back in Tubbataha with the fishes of Tubbataha, and this is Randall's shrimp goby, and it is picking a fight, and is picking this fight with another shrimp goby here, Eleotres gotata, and they're showing off. Essentially, they're doing these jumps and they're spreading their fin, and the other goby showed its big mouth, and Randall's shrimp goby is chickening out here. It realized it's a much smaller fish. It's still gonna try to take another look back whether it should fight after all, but no, it's deciding to stay near its own territory in this little balcony on the reef wall of Tubbataha. The shaky camera work is because half of my body is in this little crevice in a wall underwater, and here the two gobies are looking at each other. Look at this goby steer down, and they're showing the dorsal fins. Now, showing how big you are by flexing your dorsal fin is something gobies generally do. So the signal fin goby here does it too. So lots of interesting fish behavior to be seen in Tubbataha. Now, to remind you, why did we go to Tubbataha? Professor Kent Carpenter and I are doing fish biology research there, and we're also putting together a book which you should check out once it's released in a few months. Now, these are jackfish, and there are a big school of them, and you can probably see that some of them are black. So why are they black? They can change color, and when the males are ready to mate, they turn to this dark gray. Now you can see that probably about 10% or a little bit less of this school are ready to mate males, and they're paired already with a female, so they're swimming a little bit outside of the school in couples, and this is fantastic to see. So one of the things about Tubbataha is that there's no fishing, and it's illegal, and it's actually very well enforced, so it's actually not happening. Now, what a surprise. If humans don't try to kill fish, the fish are more comfortable around humans. Who would have thought? And when they're more comfortable around us, what they do is they show a lot of their natural behaviors much more readily when scuba divers, humans, are present. So look at this dense school of jackfish. I mean, what a treat to the nature lover, to the underwater naturalist. And again, you can see a significant part of these fish are these ready to mate dark gray males. So these jackfish schools are something you will regularly encounter when you're in Tubbataha. There is a diving season in Tubbataha, which is roughly March till June, because the rest of the year often the ocean conditions are too rough. So I don't know if this mating behavior happens year round, but it definitely happens during the diving season. So here you see two of these fish together. I mean, what a treat to be able to observe this animal behavior here as an underwater naturalist. Number 3, feeding. Feeding behavior, of course, is crucial. Now, this is near the reef top of Tubbataha, and we have had the chance to observe a number of interesting feeding behaviors. So here we have this triggerfish, Odontus niger, feeding in the water column, and here there are parrotfish, and they are grazing on the reef top. Now, parrotfish are a very interesting type of herbivorous fish. So these are essentially specialized races. What makes them specialized? Well, their jaws and their teeth. So if you look at their mouth, you'll see this beak, which almost looks like the beak of a parrot. Now, of course, parrots are specialized fruit eaters, in many cases, and they have these strong beaks to break fruits and nuts. Now it's different in the parrotfish here, and it was just amazing being able to observe their feeding behavior here. So look, what a good appetite this fish has. These parrotfish are not feeding on filamentous algae and on seaweed, but in many cases they're feeding on what's called endolytic algae. So there is all this coral rubber and this porous limestone here, and at the surface layers of these porous coral rocks, cyanobacteria grow. And cyanobacteria are not like conventional seaweeds, they are essentially a superfood. So they contain a lot of high-powered lipids and amino acids, and that's what the parrotfish feed on. And here we have a corner fish chilling in mid-water. Now these are humphead parrotfish, and these are among the few ones which also feed on live corals, and here they're defecating in mid-water. So all that sand is essentially coral rubber which they ate so that they can digest what's in between, and then they're pooping that out. So all of these things you don't see very often anymore in a lot of other places. So Tubbataha is really a time window into better times of healthier coral reefs on planet Earth. Enjoy these massive fish here. Each of these can weigh up to 40 kilos. These are gigantic parrotfish. Now, a lot of feeding also happens in the water column. There's so many different types of plankton. So these little chromis damselfish here found something. So there must have been some bloom, and they went for it. And 30 seconds later, the spectacle was over. What we can also see often are feeding aggregations. So here we see an emperor, a few jacks, and a Napoleon race, which travel together. So both the herbivores as well as the fish-eating fish here, they feed together. This is a damselfish which is keeping a patch of algae, a so-called farmer damsel. Yet another interesting feeding strategy on Tubbataha. So look at this filamentous algae on the corals here. There is also a very curious case of these rock mover wrasses. So this fish is specialized in digging in the coral rubber, and they're not crushing the coral rubber to feed what's growing in that porous material, but they're digging it up. And once they have dug it up, they end up looking for little invertebrates, worms, mollusks, little crabs living under there. And these invertebrates are in the substrate because they're trying to hide, but to no avail. And this is both interesting in terms of just feeding biology, but I also think this is just a sign that, if you think that fish are stupid, then you're stupid. So look at the well-executed activity here. So they're working as a team. They're digging in the same spot, and what you can often see is that one is looking up. One is like right now. So the one is looking for predators, for danger, and then the other fish keeps digging, and then they sometimes alternate doing that. And so there is clearly an intention that they've decided on this piece of coral rubber, and then they decided they're going to dig here. Now, one more thing. So this is probably storm damage. Why is there coral rubber? There's storm damage. This is a perfectly normal part of any healthy coral reef. Now, number 4, cleaning behavior. So check this out. This is a batfish, and there is a little cigar-shaped fish. Actually, there are two dancing around this fish. So these are cleaner wrasses. What are they doing? They are cleaning this fish of both infections as well as parasites. So you can see there's actually some kind of injury on the right side of the face of this fish. So that very easily gets infected in these warm tropical waters, and there is also a wealth of fish parasites around, and these cleaneresses take them off. That helps the client fish, and the cleaneresses also get a very rich meal. Now, there is a lot of very interesting research on the ecology as well as on the neurobiology of these cleaneresses, and I'm burning to make a full-length documentary about these amazing fish. So this is something you will be able to see in the future, hopefully. Worth pointing out is the Laboides dimidiatus, which is the regular cleaneress, or the most common cleaneress, and there are also two different species. So there's here you see a pectoralis, so these have more yellow, and there is the bicolor cleaneress. So here, of course, barracudas get cleaned. You will also often see sharks, and they have in Tubbataha, and they have these shark suckers attached to them. And this is not exclusively a cleaner, they are more hydrodynamic parasites, essentially hitching a free ride. So, hope you enjoyed this, and check back next week for more Tubbataha action.